As promised, I'm checking back in early May with the conifer collection to see how bud break has progressed. Starting with the bald cypress. Looks pretty good, but not completely done yet. I'm guessing it will be mid-May before the foliage is really hardened off. And here's the dawn redwood. Looking pretty good. And the pond cypress. And you can kind of tell what I was mentioning in the last video about how the foliage has just a little bit of a different texture compared to the bald cypress. Notice those tiny needles on the frond are a little bit twisted, a little bit more close to the central rib of the frond there, but really not that different. I have two of these tiger tail spruces. Picea polita is the Latin name, and you can see the buds are enlarged, but even at this late date, end of first week of May, it still hasn't completely broken bud. I guess some of the lower ones are just starting to break bud. So it's definitely the latest spruce to break bud in the whole collection. And this is black spruce, Picea mariana. Doing pretty good. Table mountain pine, Pinus pungens. Making a lot of progress. It's already shot up over a foot on the main leader. I do need to stake it up because it's leaning a little bit. And this is the Lotte Negri hybrid fir, hybrid Abies concolor, Abies grandis, that was badly damaged by deer browsing. And I'm hopeful that this one branch right here will become the new leader. Lots of growth on the spruce pine, Pinus glabra. And next to that, one of my Virginia pines, Pinus virginiana. Tons of growth as well. And this is one of my Korean firs. Got a few weeds growing there. To get rid of that. And unfortunately, it looks like the leader died during the last winter, which is not uncommon for Korean fir, and one of the reasons it's a little bit problematic and probably not the best fir for this part of the country. And center screen here we have Pinus strobus. This is eastern white pine, and this one was also badly damaged by deer browsing, but you can see there were some buds left, and it's growing like crazy here at the top. The unfortunate thing is there appear to be 3 leaders, so I need to trim one away. Probably I'll keep the one in the middle here and get rid of the other 2, because I can't have the energy be divided 3 ways. And here is the Japanese plum yew, Cephalotexus harringtonia. We've seen it many times. There's the central leader growing upward there, and the very light green foliage on all of the branches. I don't think I've ever noticed that it was this light green before, but I assume it's okay. Here's the Paul's Select cultivar of Norway spruce. And looking closer at the Paul's Select, it looks like there may have been leader loss as well there, but I bet one of these side ones can become the new leader. Korean fir here, Picea coriensis. I think in a previous video I might have said Picea coreana, but it's Picea coriensis. And unfortunately, looks like we also lost the leader on that one this past winter, but there's already a new one sprouting up here on this side that I'm pretty sure will take over. Good progress on the Amersfoort cultivar of Taxus cuspidata, Japanese yew. And next to that we have a nice small specimen of Picea purpurea. Yunnan spruce doesn't really have strong vertical tendency, so I may stake it a little and take this one on the right side here and stand it up. This is the Chihuahuan spruce, Picea chihuahuana. It previously had lost a leader here, and I was able to trim away the remainder of that leader branch and allow this one behind it to take over. And fortunately, the leader bud on this secondary leader is sprouting, is breaking bud, and that's going to grow up to be a nice big vertical leader here. So that's good news that the Chihuahuan spruce was able to reestablish apical dominance. And this is the Lijiang spruce here, Picea lijiangensis. Native to southern China, and I've always had pretty good luck with this one in terms of leader bud break, and once again it maintains its perfect streak. Vertical leader right there, and it's gonna reach for the sky. Hopefully I'll get the same 1.5 foot of vertical growth this year that I got last year. Just a quick close-up of the pollen cones on the Vanderwolf pyramid pine, Pinus flexilis, and stepping back to let you see the overall shape of it. Kind of a giant green blob, but I think it will take on more of a conical shape as it gets larger. And in the middle here we have one of my 2 blue Atlas cedars. They're both doing very well, putting on new growth. Here's a close-up of that blue Atlas cedar foliage. And another shot of one of my other spruce pines, Pinus glabra, once again native to the southeastern US. Pretty rare in cultivation. Sometimes you can find them on woodlanders.net or mailordernatives.com. Surprisingly, one of my tallest trees is actually a fir. This is the Nikko fir, native to Japan, Abies homolepis. Happened to find this one by chance at a local nursery. Of course, they don't have any more now, but I was worried about it in the beginning because it had a massive split on the trunk, but it seems to have healed up nicely, and it's been growing relatively vigorously. It's a close-up view of that foliage on the Nikko fir, once again Abies homolepis, and it does break bud later than the Momi fir, so I don't think I've ever experienced any frost damage on the Nikko fir. And speaking of the Momi fir, here it is. This is the one where I had to trim the top to establish a leader. Seems to be working pretty well. And you can see the places where some of the foliage was damaged by the frost, but obviously when you look at the tree overall, I think you can tell from the bright green foliage there was plenty of undamaged foliage this past winter, so it's growing nicely. And right down here at the foot of that Momi fir, we have, I guess, kind of a dwarf cultivar of the Atlantic white cedar. Chamaecyparis thioides is a false cypress, obviously from the genus Chamaecyparis. And it's pretty compact, conical, interesting foliage, a little bit blue-green, and I'm hopeful that it will continue to have a good vertical tendency. And right next to that, another fir, Nordman fir, Abies nordmanniana, native to eastern Turkey, nation of Georgia, and it's always a little bit questionable about the leader bud break here. It looks like 2 of the 4 buds on the leader are breaking, and then there's one side one here that is fairly close to the top, so we'll have to wait and see which one establishes a vertical tendency at the end of the growing season. My preference would be that this one on the left does, because the tree is a little bit lopsided in growth. I don't know if that's because it was a rooted cutting, perhaps, or not rooted, it's a grafted cutting, but it may have been from a side branch scion, and for whatever reason the side facing the sun never really grows as much as the shaded side, so it could use more growth on that side. Back here we have the Black Hills spruce, which is just the marketing name for a cultivar of white spruce, Picea glauca, and you can see compared to the foliage behind it, it's got a little bit of a bluish tinge, but nothing like a Colorado blue spruce, which of course I do not grow here. And behind that, a fairly impressive planting of, I guess that's 5 Norway spruces at this point. There's a 6th one back there that you can't see. They're putting on lots of growth of the leader. This front one here, don't know what's going on up top there. May have lost the leader there. But the others have something going on. We'll see what happens. Here we have Taiwan fir, Abies kawakamii. It looks like, unfortunately, I did lose the leader there, but there are some good alternatives sprouting here. So I'll let that progress throughout the growing season and then maybe trim away this dead leader here. And here is one of my incense cedars, California incense cedar, Calocedrus decurrens, progressing nicely. Not much to show here, but this is Thuja occidentalis, Niagara cultivar, dark green arbor vitae, and on some sources online you'll see it called the black cedar, but growing nicely. And way in the background here we have a few of my loblolly pines. I've also already put on a lot of growth, and they will keep growing throughout the summer. And here's a planting of 2 bluish colored conifers. Here, bottom left, we have the dragon spruce, Picea aspirata, and center screen here you have the blue cloak cultivar of white fir, Abies concolor, grafted to Abies firma rootstock for disease resistance. Not 100% sure what's happening with the leader on the dragon spruce, but seems okay. And there were 2 potential leaders going through the winter months here on the Abies concolor that I left. This one, main one here at the top, and the other one down here on the right here. It looks like both actually did lose their leader buds. I'm not seeing any growth action there, but there are a few candidates on the side of this one especially, which may turn vertical and form new leaders. And that's really what happened last winter as well. So across the entire fir collection, plenty of leader bud loss this past winter. Here we have the pitch pine, Pinus rigida, growing like crazy. And there are also some interesting cones forming on the inside here, if I can show. Yeah, check that out, inside there. Female cone. And right next to that, Oriental spruce, native to eastern Turkey, nation of Georgia. Here, let me show another one here. Caucasus, Black Sea coast region. A couple possible leaders there. This one is a little bit crazy at the top. Don't know why. I'll have to pick one to be the leader. And behind that, let's see. There we go. Those are the deodar cedars. Cedrus deodara, native to the mountains of Afghanistan. I think you can tell they have blue colored foliage. We'll look closer. Here's a closer look at that deodar cedar foliage. And the needles do sort of close up when it gets wet. So it's just been raining here. That's why they look like that, but they will open back up. Pretty impressive foliage. And here we have the Florida yew, Taxus floridana, growing nicely in a mostly shady location. In this Spanish fir, Abies pinsapo, had some bud loss, but it's putting on a lot of new growth. This is the fastigiata cultivar of Abies pinsapo, which is kind of columnar under ideal growing conditions, but there's been some really mixed results on the bud loss here, so I'm just letting it do whatever it does. And here is the Wilson spruce, Picea wilsonii, and the vejar fir, Abies vejarii, native to northeastern Mexico mountains, putting on some good growth. Vertical dominance not yet established, but I will keep trying as the years tick by. And this is the Japanese umbrella pine, Ceadopodus verticillata, starting to grow with its characteristic very thick needles. Here we have Picea crassifolia, Qinghai spruce from central China. Still kind of a small bush, but pretty good growth, I'd say. And the Sichuan spruce, Picea montagena, not very good growth form, but I'm kind of just letting it grow as much as it can. And here we have Platycladus orientalis, Oriental arborvitae, native to China. Native to China, very widespread in its growth across China. And another Chinese native here, this is Chinese juniper, Juniperus chinensis. This is the Ketaliri cultivar, doing very well. I would say this is analogous to our eastern red cedar in terms of ability to grow in difficult sites, widespread dispersion, and longevity. Actually, one time I was on a trip to Beijing, China, and when I went to the Forbidden City, which is one of the main, palaces of the emperor there in central Beijing, they had a whole big forest, basically, of Chinese juniper, and they had tags on them listing the year when they were planted, and some of them were 300 years old and some were 500 years old, so very impressive. Definitely a long-lived species, a lot like our eastern red cedar, which can live to be hundreds of years old. I think I might have forgotten to show this conifer during the last update, but this is Douglas fir, Pseudotsuga menziesii, native to the Pacific Northwest and the interior Rocky Mountains. This one is the Rocky Mountain cultivar. There's a little bit of difference between the two cultivars in terms of cold tolerance. And so this is the one that tolerates more cold, and I haven't really had any problems. It looks like the central leader here, at least one part of the central leader has broken bud. It's not very fast growing, but so far it's been pretty reliable. This is a partial sun location. This is the Inga hybrid, hybrid between Korean fir and subalpine fir. Pretty small specimen here, but pretty good bud break, looks like, overall. Here we have the Koyama spruce, native to Japan, Picea koyamae, another bluish colored spruce. Let's get a look at that leader here. Good bud break. Looks like everything broke bud. Continuously impressed by the Koyama spruce. This is the Budgeberry Blue cultivar purchased from coniferkingdom.com. And at least a couple months ago, they still had some in stock. So if you think you might want to embark on the journey of growing bluish colored spruces that are not Colorado blue spruce, the Koyama spruce Budgeberry Blue is a great candidate for that. And here we have another small spruce specimen. This is red spruce, Picea rubens, actually native to the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And unfortunately, it looks like there was some extensive bud dieback here at the apex. So let's see, can't focus that. Yeah, it looks like I lost the entire leader there and some number of buds here. There's a little breaking bud there. We'll see how much. I'm hopeful though that it will break at least one new bud that turns vertical and resumes vertical growth. But obviously not an ideal climate for it here. It prefers cooler and moister climates, but I do have it in a kind of mostly shade location, so maybe not ideal for a spruce. We'll see what it does. I have a couple yellowish colored yews here. I believe these are both English yews. They are the Silver Spire, I think, and White Wall cultivars. I forget which one is which. Both were purchased from coniferkingdom.com, and I just kind of put them in this, what at the time was a mostly shady location, but over the years this spot has become a lot more sunny as I lost trees, so they're doing all right, putting on growth. Down here at the side I have a Scotch pine. This is the Bona Blue cultivar, and it's putting on some good growth. I have no idea what happened to the top of this here. In fact, I'm just now noticing this damage to the apex as I'm filming this. Who knows? Very unusual. Possibly dog damage, but it's putting on good growth elsewhere, so hopefully that will take over. It's supposed to be relatively fast growing. I purchased this from Singing Tree Nursery. I think it's called singtreenursery.com. Can't remember the name exactly, but it's located in Northern California. And one of the few online sources for this blue cultivar of Scotch pine. Somewhat experimental. We'll see. And this is a relatively large Japanese yew here, Taxus cuspidata, putting on all kinds of new growth. Although I have had some difficulty with establishing a new leader. Maybe this one will be the new vertical here. Looking pretty good so far. And here is the Chinese hemlock, Tsuga chinensis. It looks like there was plenty of bud loss and dieback at the very top there. Possibly due to cold, not entirely sure. But overall I'm not really worried about the health of the tree. Seems to be doing pretty good. And here we have the shortleaf pine, Pinus echinata. First week of May, and it's already put on, looks like 14, 15 inches of vertical growth on the main leader there. So definitely fast growing. Let's see what it can do. Half day sun, I would say, in this location, so it is in the best interest of the tree for it to grow rapidly vertical and grow above this Murray cypress here on the right, which I'm sure it can do. Here we have Canadian yew growing mostly in a shady spot, putting on some vertical growth there. It's more of a bush at this point. And here we have a Serbian spruce, Picea omorica, leaning a little bit to the left, but that's okay. There's a fairly large Murray cypress here on the right, so I'm fine if it leans a little left. Grows vertical, good bud break actually, and that is the apex. So finally a year with a good apex. It's pretty good vertical dominance. So I'm definitely satisfied with the growth of the Serbian spruce this year. Picea mayeri here, yet another Chinese spruce, is a little more than a green ball at this point. Definitely a bush, not really a tree. So if you do see Meyer spruce online for sale, and it looks like some elegant, perfectly conical substitute for the Colorado blue spruce, it really has too much bud loss to have a good growth form, in my experience, at least in Middle Tennessee. And some very mixed results here on the Chinese yew. This is Taxus chinensis. Lots of frost damage due to a late frost, but also some pretty good growth lower down on the tree. So yews are known for being slow growing, so I probably shouldn't expect too much in the way of rapid growth when it comes to yew trees. And it's really hard to show the progress of growth on the Thuja green giants. Of course, these are available everywhere, and probably one of the best screening trees you can buy in Middle Tennessee, assuming you have adequate water. I would plant them on even soil, but these are gigantic at this point, easily 40 feet, would be my guess, and they consistently grow 3 to 4 feet vertical per year, sometimes 5. I think the more sun and water you can give them, you can push that growth rate up to consistently 5 feet a year vertical. And nobody really knows how tall they can get, because this hybrid has only been around for a limited time, but if I had to guess, I would say with deep enough soil, high quality soil, and the perfect sunlight and water regime, you might be able to expect, who knows, 70 feet or more. I've seen some large ones that are over 60 feet, so such an impressive tree. Let's get a close look at that foliage, just so you know and remember what it looks like. I rarely show the Thuja green giant because they kind of just blend into the background, but they are some of the tallest trees in my collection outside of the loblolly pines.